And tweet is sent. I need to do. I haven't actually done any like branding around these, but the original intent was meant to be career chats where people who asked me questions or wanted to talk about a certain topic, just to do it live so that other people could benefit from it too. And
Yeah, it's a good
and
idea.
maybe for people to get a little bit more exposure too. I don't know if that ends up happening, but this came from the idea of Scott Hanselman. I don't know if you know or follow him or heard him talk, but he talks a lot about like we only have so many keystrokes in our life, like only so many keys that we can type. And so if when people ask him questions, instead of responding to them, he'll create a blog post or a video or something to like again, so other people can benefit. So that was my original intent with this.
Yeah, I always feel bad when I answer like questions I get by email and directly to reply to people. I always think like I'm spending 10 minutes to craft this answer and look up something like this is kind of wasted a bit.
Yeah,
Like I should probably just, I don't know, record a
document it
short
in some
2-minute
way.
video
Yeah.
and just upload it somewhere.
Mhm. I've done it. I've done it a few times. So people have sent me a question directly in Discord or something, and I'll record a TikTok video, which is fun because I enjoy doing TikTok. And
Yeah,
then send
you're
them a
quite
link to
heavy
that.
in TikTok.
Yeah.
I've
Heather
seen
is
it.
joining on Twitch, by the way. Morning, Heather.
Good morning, Anorak on YouTube as well. 4 people watching. I think I'm one of them.
Anorak, good morning. Richard on Twitch. Richard and Heather were in my stream. I think it was yesterday that they joined too. So welcome back.
Yeah, you're rebuilding a page with Astro, right?
Yeah. So I actually had already built my site in Astro and now am redesigning it. So I'm going through the redesign,
okay.
and it also is with Astro.
You're using now Astro too?
I'm not yet. So I want to make sure it's so hard to not get too distracted. I want to finish at least an MVP of the redesign and ship it, and then go to Astro to make sure I don't like sacrifice. I need to get the thing shipped sooner than later. So
yeah, welcome to the world of JavaScript.
Yeah,
where the next major version is out before your MVP.
I know. Yeah, well, that could be like a tease to the state of JavaScript.
Yeah.
Heather says she loved the Graphbase video. By the way,
Oh, thanks. My or yours?
sorry to you. So I had forgotten about this, but she's working at Graphbase now.
Ooh.
I don't know if you knew that. Both.
No, I didn't.
She felt bad for me after you asked, but she was talking about your video.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I actually found Graphbase. I think I found Graphbase through your channel.
Oh, cool.
Because you've been doing quite some sponsored content in the past, right? That's basically in the beginning how you financed your life, I guess, or I don't know how you did you do like consulting work once you went full time into creator mode, or?
Yeah. Do you? So let's come back to that in a second. Do you want to just introduce yourself for people really quickly so they know who you are, and then we can dive into those questions?
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in. I'm Simon Grimm from Germany. I run the Ionic Academy for almost 7 years, I think now. I'm also self-employed for that time for 7 years now. It's kind of crazy actually to think about it. I've been doing a lot of content about Ionic and Angular in the past, but I started to branch out over the last year into basically everything web development. So I've been Captain Ionic. Some people might know me. Now I kind of try to brand myself as the cross-platform king at some point. So I've been touching Flutter, I've been touching React Native now. And right now my latest project is a new project called Galaxies.dev. For everyone who's interested, go check it out. There's currently a wait list. The project will be launched in like end of February, probably. It's going to be about cutting edge, probably even bleeding edge web development technologies. We're going to talk about Next, Astro, React, of course, Ionic, Capacitor, basically everything that I love, because I just noticed over the years that, yeah, Ionic is cool and talking about Ionic is pretty cool, but I kind of limit myself to this topic. I'm limiting myself and my own growth and my expansion to just this one thing, to Ionic and Capacitor. And yeah, like we're people of different interests. We're developers, and I just love to explore new technologies, like getting into Graphbase and doing something with GraphQL. That was so unbelievable interesting. And I've had this with many brands now. So yeah, that's where I come from. Check out Galaxies.dev if you're interested in what I do. I also have a YouTube channel. You're gonna also find it at Galaxies_dev if you want to subscribe. And I run the All the Code podcast with Simon Barker as well. So you can also find me at All the Code in your ears if you're interested. And now I'm here on James' channel because I actually reached out to. I think I reached out to you. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I was walking and reading. I think it was in December. You put out something in your YouTube community asking like, "What do you want to see on my YouTube channel?" And I read through the comments because I'm also kind of lost on YouTube growth and everything. And I saw the answers and how you replied and thought like, "Wow, this is so interesting." James is close to 200K subs, and he has basically the same problems like I do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, and let's talk about growth, and let's talk about JavaScript, and let's just have a chat. And so here we are live, and you're witnessing two creators.
Yep. Yeah, I thought crossing the 100K threshold would be this magical thing, and everything would just continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And like I recently, in the past couple of months, I've had some of my lowest performing videos almost ever, like especially in the last couple of years, which is pretty defeating. So that kind of stuff has been super down for me. So I'm trying to figure out more like what am I missing and how to get back to some of the visibility, because I think a lot of people will say like numbers don't matter, and I think that's not, it's not the focus, but it also, especially like once you reach a certain threshold of visibility, you don't want to backtrack, so you want to understand why. And then also like I don't think it's selfish to say like it's a lot more fun when I create content if a million people watch it versus a couple thousand. Like that I think people probably unanimously agree with that. It's just like you still have to stay true to who you are to try to get there. So that's always the balance, is providing value
Yeah.
first, but also doing it in a way to hopefully get more visibility for the stuff that you're doing.
I've also been trying out different things. I've been trying out shorts or other
Mhm.
like shorter videos. And honestly, to some degree, sometimes it didn't really felt like me anymore.
Yeah.
Like in the past, I've been doing basically 30, 40 minutes videos, like
Mhm.
coding, screencast tutorials. I really enjoy that stuff and people watch that. But honestly, YouTube isn't really pushing that anymore. Like you can build up a channel with only shorts and get to like 100K subs in a year probably. And I've been doing YouTube for I don't know 8 years now,
Mhm.
basically releasing a video every week. So I still bet on like consistency. I just want to stick around longer than everyone else and try to win like that.
I mean, that's definitely part of it. I definitely went through, I've talked about this publicly a lot, a really difficult time where I watched other creators that started after me get a ton of growth and get to that 100K mark while I just wasn't having that spike. And there's like one of two ways that you can look at that. You can use that as like demotivation to get sad and think you're not capable of doing that, or you could look at that as like, here's what's possible. What do I have to figure out to get there? So I always try to keep like, even though it's difficult, the positive mentality around it of like, all right, if I'm not seeing what I want, like what can I take control of? What can I change? What can I improve on to try to get there? So it's a constant, not like battle, but it's a constant evolution of content. And I haven't done shorts on YouTube super consistently, but I also haven't seen those really pick up either. And that seems to be, like you said, the trend of like YouTube and TikTok, like really, and Instagram and Facebook, like really pushing the short form content. And I've done some. I don't think I've done it enough to really have taken advantage of it, but I haven't seen a lot of the growth from YouTube Shorts specifically, even though I have an audience on regular content. So it's kind of this like, I don't know. It's a thing that we have to continue to learn about, because creating short form content is just different and it's difficult in certain ways.
It is. It took me longer to create shorts than like a 40-minute screencast tutorial, like
Mhm.
editing it and cutting stuff out because YouTube is really like 60 seconds. I guess they will raise it at some point because 60 seconds is really,
I would
really
think.
short.
Yeah.
But I also haven't seen any kind of growth from the shorts. Like
Mhm.
when I also what you said in the beginning, I'm also not really into the numbers. Like I don't care if it's 50K or probably even if I cross 100K, I'm gonna say one time, oh, that's pretty cool, and
Yeah.
then it's back to normal. I,
Mhm.
I guess it's like that, but it's just sometimes you really put your heart into a nice tutorial or a nice video, and then it gets like, I don't know, 500 views, 800 views, and
Mhm.
it's just not taking off, and you're like, that feels like this is really good information sometimes. It's kind of sad that those videos don't get more. I've been thinking the same about some of your stuff that I've seen. I was like, why? Like, his thumbnail is good, it looks good. Why is it not getting more views? It's really confusing. I haven't figured anything out about that yet.
Yeah, and I feel like I know a lot. Like I've learned so much from creating content, but there's just never any guarantee that you can have something have people respond to something. So, I don't know.
I
Again,
mean, if you have
constant
if you have the
evolution.
style from Jeff Delaney from Fireship, every video is a
Yeah.
guarantee hit. But
His stuff is
I'm not at his level. I'm
I
just not
know.
at his editing level. Like, he's just
It's
unique.
yeah, that's a different special level. That's also one of the things that I've been interested in doing more of. Um is having people edit my video. So my not the video I posted this morning, but the video that I posted Tuesday was edited. And I think they did a really good job of some basic animations and text and zoom ins and that sort of stuff. So I'm gonna invest more into having content edited to see how people respond. But like when I look back at some of my most successful videos, they were not special and like some of them weren't special in any category. They didn't have a really nice thumbnail, they didn't have a super compelling title, they weren't edited really nicely. So I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I have a like competitor in my space. We were basically always on the same level. And some days before Christmas, he had one video. It was called ChatGPT just built my entire app in minutes. Like,
Hmm.
it was good. It was a 10-minute video. Thumbnail was okay. He's really at the same numbers like me, 50K subs by now. That video is close to 1 million views by now.
Mhm. I feel
For
I may
whatever
have
reason, it got completely viral. I don't know why. It's a good video. It's okay,
yeah.
but completely out of context, some video just gets viral. And since then, I've observed his stats. He was always behind. Now he basically caught up and has the same number of subscribers. Like, you just need this one hit. Could be a short, could be a tutorial, and then your channel just explodes. I don't know if you ever had that from one particular video. I think you have some
Yeah.
good videos about VS Code or stuff, right?
Yeah, that's actually, so my big year in 2021 where I got to 100,000 was because of a few videos that did, actually not quite that high that quickly, but, that went viral and got tons of visibility. So yes, that's like I think that's kind of the trend is you put content out consistently and those spikes from individual videos really drive channels. Tay just mentioned it could be because the algorithm doesn't know where to surface that video, which is interesting, and I don't even myself know how to dive deeper into that, but that would be a fun conversation to have
Yeah,
at some point.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to blame the algorithm and say like, "Oh, my content is so good." It's just the algorithm that's not displaying it. Like, in the end, I think it comes down to watch time, and YouTube wants people to watch your stuff. So if I have a 40-minute video and people leave the video after 5 minutes, YouTube will say, "Well, that's probably not a good video. I'm not gonna recommend that to anyone else." But you're also having like a lot of 10-minute videos, and I'm trying to do this more this year as well, like 10 to 20 minutes, because that's what people can watch in their lunchtime or lunch break
Mhm.
or on their commute. But like, if you're posting a 1 hour Tailwind React whatever tutorial, nobody says like, "Oh, I'm immediately going to watch this. This is cool." Like,
I think it depends. You'll get lots of mixed feedback on the benefit of long form content versus shorter form content. I think a lot of people still swear by hour long tutorials. And if you look at something like Brad Traversy Media, like he's made his thing with crash courses that are an hour plus long. Like those are the things that I guess they just become that go-to resource in a given category. And I used to watch
mm,
every single video he did when I was working at FedEx, for example. And but also you mentioned like if you create a 40-minute video and people watch 5 minutes, 5 minutes watch time is actually really good. The average watch time on my videos is like 3 minutes or something. And it's not necessarily YouTube, I don't think cares about the percentage of a video watched. It's just total number of minutes. So if
oh,
they
that's
watch
helpful.
5 minutes out of 40 versus 3 minutes out of 10, that's still a win, I believe, to YouTube because that's more time people are spending on the
True,
YouTube platform.
true. Oh, that's actually a good point. Yeah. Yeah, well, I've been thinking a lot about this. So what my conclusion at this point is, like, I'm not making money from YouTube. Basically, I have actually turned off my ads at this point. I have some issues with my Google Ads account. So I've been always open about my numbers. With 50K subs, honestly, I made $200 per month in ads. That's nothing for me. That's just
Yep.
nothing for my business. And I ran a membership site where like people pay $25 per month. So if I can just get a few more people to sign up to my membership site, that's going to be way better than just having some kind of ads. So instead of looking at, I need to get to 100K subs on YouTube or something, I'm now thinking that I want to build up my relation with people more and get them to trust my things more. And I actually think that the tutorials, 40, 50, 60 minutes, is actually a better way to build trust than like a 5-minute talk about the state of JS. Like, I'm going to do that as well for popularity and ranking high and getting new subs. But I think a nice mix is probably the best way. I don't know how you make most of your income. Is it sponsored content, or you also have a course in SvelteKit, I think?
Yeah, so I can dive into a few things. I think not every view has the same value, to your point. So people who view one of these longer tutorials and trust in your ability to cover crash course in a given topic, like, they're more likely to come back than they are from watching 10-minute video, I think, because they've invested more into you. And so I think that's a good point. And that's something I talk about from a DevRel perspective a lot, is like going and talking to 500 people doesn't necessarily have more impact than talking to 5, depending on what happens with those 5. So it's not just about big numbers. And I'm actually looking, not like selfishly, but more for engagement in Discord in general. Like, I've got a big Discord with 5,000 people, but 50 people on average on a monthly basis are active in some regard. So I want to continue to like engage with people there more and get the activity up there more. I One suggestion is, like, I don't think ads hurt you really any. So I would leave them on, because what the potential is, like, you have a video that does go viral at some point, and reality is, like, most likely that it happens after you continue to create more and more videos. Like, it's been a while already, but like, that could happen. And if it does, you're missing out on $1,000 or something. Like, it still wouldn't be a game changer, but it is something for basically having to do nothing. But that said, I think the most I've made in a month is like 3,000 on ads during that like bigger spike. And now I'm down to like $800, which is very, very low. Like, I haven't been lower than, with the exception of the past couple months, I'd always been 1,500 to 2,000 or so, for the most part. And now to be
It's
at
not bad.
800, it's not bad. Like, it's definitely money, but it's not a salary. So
No.
the point of that is, like, yes, it's nice money. It's lower now, so you can't depend on it necessarily. But the majority of my money right now does come from sponsorships, and that's one of the things that I want to change this year, is to get more of my own paid content producing money, so that I'm not as dependent upon outside sponsorships.
So is that the SvelteKit course, or do you plan anything else, like, I don't know, online courses, books, or something?
Yeah, so I actually backed out of the SvelteKit course.
Ah,
So it's just Amy's now. So Amy
okay.
has everything Svelte, and she's going through and finishing it. And then will be announcing my next course in the next month, probably. I'm still debating between two topics, and maybe having a conversation behind the scenes to figure out which one of those it is. But I'll announce that in the next month or so. So teaser for people to keep an eye out for content for me in the future. But that'll be a big primary goal this year, is to get a course and start to make money off of that.
But that's basically going to be like a standalone course, like something Next.js or so.
Yeah, standalone. Yeah. And there's like, I don't know that I would do this. I've always really thought the model that Scott Talinsky does with Level Up Tuts is really cool, because like subscriptions is powerful. Providing the amount of content that he does is really amazing. But also just like that idea of being able to try out different things all the time is really pretty amazing. So I'm not anywhere near trying to do something like that. But maybe I could sometime in the future.
Yeah, I actually kind of am on that path right now. So
Mhm,
Galaxies.dev, what we're currently building up, is definitely inspired by Level Up tutorials,
mhm.
by Fireship. So we're gonna have different courses in the platform. There's a subscription included, a forum, and yeah, I just went full in on this idea last year because I noticed that this is just what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy like creating these kind of courses. And
Yeah.
for me, the like what Wes Boss is doing with this one course, and you have a big launch, and I don't know, it never really worked for me, these big launches, and I kind of don't like them. So the Ionic Academy is also, it's always open. You can sign up. It's a monthly subscription, and like, yeah, we can be open here about the numbers. I'm having close to 500 members, active members in the
Nice.
Ionic Academy, and that basically pays like every month. I know that not everyone is just signing out next month, so I
Mm-hmm.
can be pretty sure for like the next 2, 3, 5 months that I'm definitely gonna have some sort of income. And I'm just a person who can sleep a lot better in that case. I don't know
Yeah.
if I could sleep like if I have a big launch and make 500K, and then yeah, at some point I probably run out of money or don't have an idea for a new course, and yeah, maybe don't even make 500K, maybe just make 100 or 80K, and
Yeah.
then what? That's not a salary for a whole year. So
Yeah. I look at like this is a completely arbitrary number, but making money off courses, the one time thing is not an easy thing to do. So I've got a goal of doing a course this year that makes 50,000, and that's
it's
not the
reasonable.
game changing money, but that seems reasonable. And the more important thing is I want to create myself a template for what it's going to be like for me to release more courses in the future, because I've never had more time to be able to dedicate to something in the past because I wasn't doing it full time than I do now. So what I want to do is I want to ship a course, and I want to feel really good about the structure of that, like the newsletters, the build a site, the create blog posts on the site to get SEO value and that sort of thing, drive people to it from YouTube videos, create like have the whole structure and ecosystem as kind of a template that I can use, so that the easy part is doing that, and then the hard part, or I guess the other part, is just coming up with the next iteration of content topic. So that's my goal. When I think I mentioned before we went live, the investing in like longer term sustainability is looking at stuff of how do I replicate this more in the future with less effort, more structure, that just becomes more and more effective.
Yeah, it definitely is a great idea. I did do like a bit of consulting work until mid last year. And that was when I said, okay, no, I'm going full time on this. Like it took me 6 years to that point to really like, it's always very enticing when
Hmm.
someone has a nice project and it really looks interesting, because I just like to code sometimes, and just I like to work on your API. Yes, and you give me money. That sounds great. But in the end, it's like consulting is trading time for money.
Yeah.
And the biggest goal we usually as creators have is making ongoing money while we sleep,
Hmm.
while we're on vacation,
Yeah.
while we're doing nothing, basically.
Yeah. The
So
subscription model that you said um, sounds really nice to have like that amount of ongoing income, especially not having to spend the entire month continuing to keep that going, like having the ability to have that coming in and then be able to do other things.
yeah, it really feels very good. And also at that point right now, I just started this sponsored content thing because I
Hmm.
learned last year that I have to reach out to companies. That was a kind of funny experience. I was waiting like 7 years for companies to reach out to me, which never happened. So I
Hmm.
started reaching out to companies, and guess what? They said, "Oh
It
yeah, we
happened.
would love to
Yeah.
work with you."
Yeah.
uh, so thanks, by the way, to you. I found a lot of companies that are interesting through your channel.
Cool.
Um,
Good. That's one of the things that I have to balance going forward is I've gotten like just a couple, not very many, but just a couple of people commenting like, "Oh, another sponsored video." So I have to like
oh,
keep in
really?
mind that yeah, like personally, I don't mind when a creator that I trust does sponsored content, because I know they wouldn't do that unless they believed in it and it was valuable enough to show. Like my thing is I would create content on the people and the companies that I do sponsor stuff with if I had infinite amount of time regardless. So it's stuff that I like know of, would be interested in. Just like the sponsorship is basically the priority to create the content. But I've had a few comments saying like, "Oh, second sponsored video in a row." Again, just a couple, but it's something that I have to keep in mind for two reasons. One, to make sure that people don't get put off by the amount of sponsor content that I do. Again, like it wouldn't bother me because I would trust if they trust me, and maybe I have other trust to earn, but make sure that I don't put them off, but then also making sure that I have the ability to invest in those longer term sustainability things, like creating that structure for a course. So it's easy for me, actually, the flip side of you, where I get like tons of incoming requests, much more than I can possibly handle, which is a great problem to have. But that means it's hard for me to say no because I
Oh
think of the
yeah.
money I could make, but I know I need to prioritize my time to do other things that are more beneficial for me in the long run. And that's hard.
Yeah, that's basically the same like saying no to consulting projects
Mhm.
because
Yep.
yeah, investing time in building up your own platform, it's just not
Yep.
going to get you any money. I see this right now as well. We're building. I could also have used something like Teachable or some
Mhm.
course platform, but we're actually building this up from the ground with SvelteKit and Superbase.
Cool.
So it's a completely unique development
Yeah. That's fun.
at Galaxies. Yeah, we can we can talk about that once it's
Mhm.
done. It's actually been an interesting experience. So for everyone interested, SvelteKit and Superbase, pretty awesome combination. I think
Mhm.
you love it as well, both, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what the Learn Build Teach site is. The Learn Build Teach site and the Learn Build Teach Discord bot um, uses Superbase for the bot, and then Superbase and SvelteKit for the website. Richard's asking, do you think the dev content creator scene is getting saturated? Is it difficult for someone new to break into it? Um, I, I think the answer for me is no, because there's like when I look at, I have a lot of subscribers relative to a lot of people. Where I have 175,000 subscribers. You think like, oh, that's a lot. Like I wonder how many more I can get. But then you go and look at like people that have millions, so the audience is there. Like there's that many people that consume content, and even though a lot of people are starting, I think a lot of what really is impactful is sticking with it. And that's the tough thing. Like we were talking about podcasts earlier. A lot of people started podcasts, but they last for 6 months and then they're gone. So if you have the ability to stay dedicated to it, I think that's huge. I think everybody, to Josh's point, like everybody has a unique voice, has a unique
Yeah.
style. Anytime I search something on YouTube, I usually watch 2 or 3 videos from different people to find the complete answer that I'm looking for. So I don't particularly think so. I mean, it's not like it's the beginning of YouTube where like you could like skyrocket overnight. But you look at people that have come in recently, like Theo. I don't know like his full name or actually what his YouTube
Is
channel
it
name
Ping?
is.
I don't know.
Is it Ping? I don't actually know if anyway. But Theo's come out of nowhere, I feel like, and now he's everywhere and like dominating. So I'm actually like his stuff I think is a little more intended to be controversial than stuff I would naturally want to do. But out of respect for him, like he's got a good eye for how to get people's attention on stuff. And I think people really like opinions. You could do that in a
Yeah.
respectful way, but people want to know what you think are best practices because they just want that. They want opinions from people. And so it's figuring out how to present that in a way that is inclusive, but also edgy enough to make people care and want to watch.
Yeah, I think that's for everyone the opportunity still on YouTube. Like just pick a new technology. For example, what's hot? Astro is hot. Go full stream ahead on Astro, and I bet you're gonna create a nice channel. You could use a Solid. You could create Svelte content. Everyone can find an angle to this. I think yeah, Theo is an interesting example. I just talked with Simon on my podcast about this. I think it's easier to stand out if you're like a bit unique. And if you look at Theo, he is like he looks like interesting. His thumbnails are interesting. He has very strong opinions. I won't say if I like them or not like them, but he has very strong opinions, which I usually don't share.
Mhm.
And then you look at like people like us. Just look at me. I'm like the perfect middle of the spectrum, or you like you're like the perfect American like
Yep.
dude, whatever. And then there are other people, for example, I don't know if you know them, for example, Papa React, the Sonny something.
Mm-mm.
Like he has close to 200K subs as well. He went with live streams where he's building, I think, Next.js or React Native stuff. And he has like this bling bling to him. He's very
Yeah.
flashy. Then we got Enya Kubov, like
She's amazing.
she's a girl, she's a woman, whatever. She's a bit different than we are, so she also gets by default, I think, more likes. So it's kind of easier if you stick out a bit. Think of West Boss. West Boss has like this this quirky noise. This you immediately, if you hear him talk or see a video, you will immediately know that it's West Boss. Whereas if you hear us, the two of us talk, like
Just another
we're
person.
probably not that unique. But anyway, everyone can at least have some sort of success on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Just want to clarify for like on Anya being a woman, I think there probably is something to people being excited to see not another white male on content. So I think that is true. But I also want to clarify, like, from that doesn't take away, like, that wouldn't have worked the way that it has for her if she wasn't creating amazing freaking content. So
no,
just want to be clear as we bring that up, that, and I think you do too, but I just want to make that like super clear. Like, her content is absolutely amazing, and that's why
I love
she's
the content
that.
where she's doing like the game stuff. Like,
Yeah.
this has
it's so good.
super interesting.
Yeah.
But then again, she also has videos like breakout videos, which suddenly get like 3 million views completely over the top. Like, I don't know, monetize your API or something. It's sometimes really random what takes off on YouTube. And that's what's kind of fascinating, but also scary. Like, you don't know. You could create something like, these are the 5 hottest Visual Studio Code extensions, and you probably get like 500K views.
I don't know if you're
maybe
joking,
you get like,
but that's one of my like most popular videos. Like, if you watch my most popular videos, it's the one about Postman, one about asynchronous JavaScript, and then VS Code extensions, basically. Which, that's one thing, in fairness to like being true to what got my channel to where it is. I haven't done one of those VS Code videos in a while, and those have historically always done much better on my channel. Mark commented that I called out, asking if I was starting to call out sponsors more specifically in videos because of comments in that I've gotten in the past. Again, there's only been like a couple of comments about people saying anything about sponsors, so it's not a trend or anything. It's just a couple that I want to pay attention to. But he mentioned that I called out them specifically in the video that launched today, which is through Storyblock. And I think like that video specifically was me saying, like, I think this is the best visual editor for a headless CMS. At the same time, I want to make it very clear that people know it's sponsored, so that I can say, like, I don't do sponsored content for people that I don't already enjoy. And when I find a sponsor, I want to go and specifically find the features that I do enjoy, which in this case was a visual editor for Storyblock. So yeah, I think like I don't think that I overdid it based on feedback, but I felt like that was kind of the natural incorporation of that anyway. So I don't know if I did it any differently based on comments or not.
I actually don't know why you're getting negative comments. Like the Web Dev Simplified or JS Mastery, one of them is like every video is sponsored. Like, it's just sponsored by something random, like Hostinger or some hosting or whatever. So yeah, I actually also, as a creator, have like nothing bad about this. If you say this is sponsored by something, I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay,
right,
continue with the content. Like, if the video provides nice content, I actually don't care if it's sponsored. So
exactly.
if it's just a big marketing ad, yeah, I think then it could be negative. But I don't think that you would do something like that. Or
and that comes with earning trust. So again, I don't think I'm in danger of losing that, but I'm paying attention to comments to see if there's things I need to tweak. I think I have found that some sponsors weren't as natural for a fit of my audience. Not that it wasn't genuine for me, because I really enjoyed it, but it's just tougher to convince people of certain topics of sponsors. So anyway, like I want to cut back on overall amount of sponsorships to make sure I have time to do other things, like to prioritize doing courses and that sort of stuff. I also want to spread out sponsorships, so it's not just back to back to back, and take on maybe max 2 a month or something. And also I want to do longer relationships with sponsors, because the tough thing with individual sponsorships is the onboarding to the product and learning about it, like just for one video, versus if I do longer things. And that's what I have with Storyblock and Zeta right now, which 2 products I'm super excited to work with. But they're ongoing sponsorships, which means I can kind of continue to explore the product more and provide value rather than learning an entire new product each time.
Christian, I will never understand why some people have a problem with sponsorship. Yeah, thanks, Christian.
Yeah,
that's basically what we think.
I agree. Yeah, there's also a comment from Yost on Twitter, which is a great comment, and I wholeheartedly agree with this. So he commented, it also might be because sometimes it's not clear up front that something is a paid product, at least in this case of Tailscan. So this is 100% true. Brad Traversy had mentioned this before, with the potential for sponsors on his, was to make sure that every sponsor had a free tier. And that's something I haven't done the vetting on. as much as I should, and that will be a requirement from now on. So that will actually be in anything that I do to make sure it has a free tier for that exact point. I think that's 100% valid. The interesting thing about Tailscan, that was not sponsored at all. That was just a product that I enjoyed. In fairness to it being sponsored, I did get a free plan to be able to test it out. But I said, like, hey, I just like to test it out so that I could create a video on it because I think it is worth it to some people to pay. Not that everyone is willing to pay. And I got lots of feedback saying they don't want to pay, which is fine, but also don't shit on the thing just because it's paid. Like developers
Yeah.
should make money too. But 100% agree on that with any sponsored content. I may be already committed to a few, so I apologize. But like long term, any sponsored content that I take on will have a free tier, and that's a great call out.
Yeah, that's actually a very good idea. I'm gonna incorporate that as well. Definitely a good idea. But by the way, yeah, some people still think that everything should be free. Christian is saying YouTube
Yeah.
is your job. Nobody works for free forever. But
Yep.
yeah, you wouldn't believe how many people already told me like my courses are too expensive. They want to have it for free, and I'm always
Mhm.
saying like I have like 100 videos on YouTube and they're completely for
Yep.
free. Please enjoy them, enjoy all of them as long as you want. But
Yep.
like I'm gonna have to pay my mortgage here. I'm gonna have to feed a family. Like I'm not gonna work for free.
Mhm. Yep. That's true. And like if you look at any YouTuber, like they provided so much. Any successful YouTuber, relative, but like they've provided so many free resources for people. And those, I think those are just comments that you kind of have to ignore for the most part because people who trust you, people who value you, like they're going to value the paid content as well. And I get people all the time, not just with my stuff, but with other people's stuff to say like, I'm happy to pay for their thing. Like, even if I don't take the course, just to support them in their journey of creating. So, Mark is asking if there's a market for sponsoring X videos, even if they aren't all about their product specifically. This is something I've experimented with, and I think one of them wasn't as good as well communicated as it could have been. Where I find a topic that I think will be really good and incorporate the sponsor in it. So I'm not leading with the sponsor in the title or the thumbnail. I just incorporate the sponsor and I've kind of had mixed results with that. But obviously, like when people sponsor a video, I want them to get as much visibility as possible. So I try to have this like natural, here's a topic I think will do well and incorporate the sponsor. One of them in particular, I don't think I did as great of a job at. So that's a constant balance of trying to figure out how to merge those two things together.
Gobinath is also asking, hi James and Simon, I'm a front-end developer. I have an idea in building a course application like educative. Should I use a backend stack like Node or can I use Headless CMS and Firebase? Oh, that's a it depends question.
There's no, yeah, it depends on what you want to do. There's no, like at the end of the day, it's can you make it work? And
like you can probably I could probably give you 10 example stacks that would all work. Like you can use Firebase, you
yep,
can use Superbase, you could use Graphbase, you can use MongoDB in the cloud, you can use SQL database, serverless. Then put any kind of layer in between that. You can use Next.js, you could use Express,
yep,
you could use Next.js. It's hard to answer that. It's kind of cool that we have so many technologies right now, but at the same
but
time, it's
also
also I
overwhelming.
think so
Yeah,
overwhelming to
yep.
people. I've just seen like yesterday. I don't know if you're into Flutter at all or getting any kind of news from that ecosystem. I've been touching that a bit. So there's now Flutter 3.7 available in Dart, and
Mm.
it's like quite nice. It's just Dart and Flutter. It's just and there's end. And in our JavaScript world, we can't even like agree on should we now use JavaScript or TypeScript. Like this is the fundamental thing, and then we haven't even talked about one framework. So also for example for Swift, like if you were developing applications with Swift, it's just there's Swift and their Cocoa pods, and that's nice, and
Mhm.
everyone's happy in that
Yeah,
world. They're like more
there's not an
boundaries, and in the web world, like where are the boundaries? Where I
mhm.
can look like kilometers to the left and right, and there are no boundaries. And that's probably what people enjoy about Erect as well, and that's what I, for myself, always enjoyed with Angular. So I've been
Yeah,
coming from Angular and had like Angular has a clear architecture. It has strong opinions about your folders and the structure. And
yep,
you go into one Angular project, and the next Angular project is basically the same. And you look at one React and the next project, and you're like,
totally
"What is
different.
this? A new language?"
Well, it's interesting because someone brought up an interesting point in my recent video about JavaScript trends that said like I was saying, how meta frameworks are becoming more popular, like Next.js and Remix and Nuxt and SvelteKit, etc. And they were like, well, like why didn't Angular get that? Because Angular was like didn't have all of those server side features, but Angular was
Yeah.
a lot of that. And I think at the time it was just too different too early. I think the frameworks that are coming up now, we proved that we needed them by going through this whole evolution of what the Jamstack was and what static was, and then realizing we still need server and like how and when do we do which. And I think we've proven to ourselves as a community that we needed to have the tools that we have now. And Angular was honestly probably a little ahead of its time in that regard.
Angular
Um,
was using like TypeScript from the beginning,
I
right?
know.
And
And at that
React
point,
is now just embracing it,
I know.
and
I
now
know.
everyone,
Yeah.
oh, TypeScript.
Mhm. It is really funny. I've always called that out for Angular, specifically with TypeScript and some of the other things of having kind of been a pioneer, even if we don't look at it that way.
It's actually having a nice like it didn't look good on the state of JS survey for everyone who looked at that.
Hmm.
Like Angular looks as it is in a downtrend, but I've been following a lot of Angular people on Twitter, and it's actually not really looking like that. It's actually kind of going upward in terms of like demand and jobs, and they're shipping pretty impressive features lately with like self-closing text. I mean, okay, React has this since quite some time, but Angular is kind of moving in that direction. They want to do work on server-side rendering this year,
Mm,
because
no.
that's for me a very negative thing about Angular. There is a package, but it's horrible to set up. You just bring up a Next.js application, you get that nice file-based routing, and everything works smoothly. But if Angular can get to that level, I think it's. I don't know if Angular can have a comeback in the future. I don't know. What's your chat like? Are the people more React or more Angular in your community?
Definitely more. Well, I think the reality is anybody that talks about frameworks and the JavaScript ecosystem online is more likely to not be Angular, because Angular just is a more enterprise feel. The stereotype would be the people who go to work, do their job, and go home and don't do the type of stuff that we do outside of work. So I think you'll probably never hear the hype around Angular, but I think it definitely won't go away, and I think it will continue to be popular in those scenarios. But timing maybe just wasn't all it could have been with some of the features and things that they released, which is unfortunate. Richard is asking, what was the trigger that made me become a full-time content creator? So I was actually let go from my job over the summer. So that was the trigger. And I was in a fortunate enough position to have already done a
How
bunch of
big was your
content.
YouTube channel at that point?
Not much different than what it is now.
Oh,
It was, yes, it was 150 around that time.
okay.
So it hasn't grown that much since. Um, but I had already done sponsored content. I already knew I would have more sponsored opportunities, so I felt like that was the time to go ahead and make the jump. Kinjara said that they are full stack dev focused on Salesforce. Huge fan of the channel. Thank you. Just lurking, showing support. Appreciate that. That's awesome. DigiDriver mentioned an Iron Chef type show with programming instead. So like programming competitions live to see who could build X, Y, and Z. I guess that would be a ton of fun.
Honestly, I sometimes think I'm a bad developer. Like I wouldn't really do bad on those kind of challenges, like doing some CSS or
I do too.
JavaScript
Yeah.
challenge. I
Hmm.
also, if I would apply for a job in the United States, I would probably fail every interview I get to. Like I see no point in that. I can do an amazing job at Googling stuff and just building things. I
Yeah.
really like to build projects, build apps, or build something and just piece together stuff. But yeah, I'm sometimes just not that of a developer. So
Hmm. I I was thinking about that myself when I was doing some of my redesign stuff. I feel like it looks harder to me than it should be, but I don't do a lot of styling, to be honest. That's not something I'm super skilled at. So
can you both do a live stream for freelance on how to start a YouTube channel in 2023? Thank you for the answer.
yeah, I actually put a link to ebook that I wrote, YouTube for Developers, in the chat.
Oh, nice, you
You
did.
can check that out. That's one of the things I want to do more of too, is have like some of the smaller ebook type things for or just paid pieces of content.
Did you make like any actual money from that?
A couple $1,000,
Oh, not too
but I
bad.
haven't. Yeah, but I haven't the hardest part, I think, after releasing a product is continuing to market it. And
Oh yeah.
that's something I don't,
I
I
hate
haven't
that
done very
part.
much. Yeah. Brian
I'm so
said
bad.
it was a good ebook. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it looks nice indeed. But also I never came across it. I would have probably purchased it.
Hmm. Yeah, again, marketing is hard. And that's where I think the build up, like when I was talking about the structure for launching courses, I think it's about being dedicated to a topic for 6 months at a time and making sure that you're creating blog posts, videos, TikToks,
Mm.
tweets that you're sharing constantly about that topic so that people know you for that topic and then want to go and consume the content, and specifically to get newsletters, get people on newsletters to get them in that funnel. And so that's where like free cheat sheets and free crash courses and things, getting them in a funnel through something like that to then say like, hey, you got value from this. I also will have this paid resource that you may be interested in.
Yeah, but everything you just said, it sounds so easy, and I also do know
Hmm.
about all of that. But if you're just a solo person doing all of this,
Yeah.
like it takes so unbelievable long.
Yeah.
For example, right now with my project Galaxies, I wanted to do like the coding. I hired a designer to do some designs for me, and we're still working together. But I plan to do the coding, and then I quickly realized, okay, if I code this, it's going to take unbelievable long, and then I don't even have content. So I have basically outsourced the development to
The
an awesome
coding. Yeah.
developer I've been doing with, because what I do best is creating content and doing
Hmm.
courses. So they work on the design, they work on the implementation, and I work on the courses right now. And still, even now, I think like maybe I need someone else to do marketing, like recording shorts or doing TikTok stuff, building up your branding, creating opt-ins for a newsletter, doing the newsletter, keeping people engaged. Like this is more than a job for one person. It's really hard for a solo developer. And
It
like
is.
you can do all of that. It just takes very long, and you
Yeah.
can I kind of get okay with this over the years. I know that I prioritize my family, my health, and then the work.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that's my order. If I work 3 hours a day, then and I do something cool, then that's great. So for example, like yesterday, my daughter said in the morning she wants to go to the zoo with me in the afternoon. I said, "Oh, Daddy had planned to record a course today, and here I got so." And then I was like, "Yeah, that's my own plan. Like, why should I? I'm my own
Yeah.
boss. Why should I do this?" And I said,
Hmm.
"Yeah, zoo it is today," and that it felt great. It just felt great.
Yeah. I talked to a lot about that, and Brian was at. I gave my first keynote at that conference. Is the name of the conference in Texas. Talked a lot about my worst fear is not being able to do stuff with kids. For example, my wife is pregnant. I haven't made a
Oh,
super public post about that. She's
awesome!
doing May.
Congratulations.
Thank you. With our first child, and my worst fear is like being in a situation where I have to say no to go into a sporting event or a recital or something because of work. And so like again, like you said, I'm my own boss, so I have the ultimate flexibility in the entire
Yeah.
world. Thank you,
There's no
everyone.
reason to say like
Yeah.
no, Daddy has to work. And I don't know what picture she gets when she gets older. Like, and I never say I have to work pretty much.
Hmm.
So she goes to school and everyone else is working. Well, we're
Hmm.
gonna be interesting. I'm really looking forward to like when she's in fourth grade and I come into school and do like a little presentation or something and tell her,
Hmm.
like, yeah, I do YouTube videos
I
and
know.
record videos on the and I do
Yeah.
TikTok. Oh, we're all on TikTok.
I've
Uh,
got a nephew that's 12, and he has told his friends over and over again that his uncle has over 100,000 subscribers on
you're
YouTube.
the
And
coolest uncle on earth.
I went to one of his track meets and was just like saying hi before he ran, and another one of the kids was like, "Oh my god, is that him?" That was cool. Thank you everyone for the congratulations in the chat. I forget, like we meant to publish something publicly like months ago, and we're just not very good about it. So thank you for the support. I appreciate that.
Hey, Brendan, by the way, I've been keeping up the flag for Angular. I haven't said what Brendan is actually working on the competitor for Next.js. I think he's working on Analog.js, which could eventually become in the future.
Is that what he's building himself?
Oh,
Is Brandon's now working with I think that's what he's doing on his own, because Brandon's
his
also
own.
working with
He's
Brian
working for
Douglas.
Appride, isn't he?
He's
Working?
not working for Appride anymore.
Sorry, Brendan,
This is
didn't say
public.
that. I hope.
This is definitely public. If I'm somehow stepping out of bounds, which I don't think I do, I am.
Brandon is awesome. Brandon is doing awesome
Yeah,
work.
he's incredible.
We can say that definitely.
Yes, we can both agree on that. But Brandon's working with Brian Douglas on open source. Okay, building analog on the side. Okay, cool. Brandon was telling me about that some at It's Public. Cool. I was 99% sure, but anytime I start to say something about someone else, I want to be 100% sure. So sorry for making that awkward for a second. At open source, yeah. Oh, Yost, I did pronounce your name correctly. I said this before. I was pretty sure that's what you had said before. But that's my worst fear, is reading people's names incorrectly.
So you said in May you're going to become a father?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting time.
Yeah. Josh is asking how to prioritize topic ideas. Have way more than you can create. I think that's one of the interesting things too with sponsored content. It's not that I am not excited about that content, but doing a lot of sponsored content meaning it takes away from spots available to do other content. So that's a constant struggle. I have way too many ideas to do than I possibly have time for.
Yeah.
In theory, if I was seeing more results from shorts, I could just use those ideas as shorts and be able to do more and do a short every day type thing. So we'll see about that. The other thing is going back to that idea of the structure for launching a course during a 6-month period where I've decided on a topic and I have the newsletter ready for signups, etc. Like I should be doing 3 or 4 videos out of a given month related to that topic to bring people to newsletters and visibility to courses and stuff. So that sort of stuff will take priority because it's leading to bigger things at that point.
Are you running a newsletter or are you guiding people from your videos to a newsletter?
Not actively. That's something that, again, from a marketing perspective, I haven't done. That's one of the things that I is a goal this year in terms of sustainability is building that newsletter, and it would be through paid stuff eventually, but also through like free cheat sheets and stuff. So that's a specific goal of mine, is to do free cheat sheets. I've got maybe 4,000 or something of my 6,000 subscribers came from a VS Code cheat sheet. So I want to replicate that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I've seen some people do a really good job, like with, I don't know, some kind of opt-in regard. Actually, pretty specific usually to the video, like to some code. But yeah, I'm also not very good at that. But I do have a quite substantial newsletter. I don't know how I managed to build that up. Probably because I've been also
hear me. I don't know if that's my internet or not. Can you let me know in the chat if people can?
and
hopefully let us know if we're still
live.
I think we're good now. We're back. Sorry about that. I guess it was my connection. I'm not really sure.
I do think so.
Somebody was waiting to hear how big your newsletter is. You said it's like 18,000.
Yeah, I said it's 18 people like not actively engaging with stuff. So at the moment it's 18. It's also not growing a lot, which is kind of sad to me. But this is one of the things, like I always think about this, like Sauron's Eye. Like Sauron's Eye is currently focused on YouTube and building my platform. So everything here is left out. And there's so many things every day. I kind of would like to do so many content videos and tutorials. I have ideas. I would like to do every idea that I have with Capacitor, with React, with Flutter, and with React Native. At the same time, I would like to have like a little application and side project released. But yeah. And then I want to understand how I can grow YouTube and how I grow my newsletter. And and then I decide it's time to just play with my daughter instead. Yeah. Because if you have enough, that's actually what keeps me like satisfied. I know what's enough. We have a good life. I don't have expensive holidays or anything, but we have enough, and I can end my work whenever I want and take off time for my family. And for me, this is like, if I listen to the My First Billion podcast and you are people talking, building businesses and hustling all the time, and I'm like, no, this is not for me. I just want to chill. I just want to chill and enjoy life. I don't know what's wrong with those people. I don't know.
I'm very similar. My number one priority with anything is work-life balance. At the same time, in fairness, and I'm very public about this, I want to make millions. Like I want to make a shit ton of money, but I don't like if people ask me how hard I work, where in a situation where it would be very easy for me to work, very easy for people in this situation to work 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week. I work basically 40 hours a week. I'm pretty strict about that. So I don't work more
You keep
than
your
a
weekends?
regular job. I do keep my weekends, absolutely.
That's cool. I know a
So
lot of people not doing this, but I've
yeah,
always been doing this.
exactly.
I don't know, because I know my daughter is at home on weekend during the
Yeah.
week. In the morning, she's in kindergarten anyway,
Yeah.
so I can work then. But I think that's actually a good idea. 40
Yeah.
hours is way enough. I think I can't really say this loud, but I think I work like 30 hours per week,
Yeah,
maybe.
but that's
I don't
great.
know.
And like
I understand I don't grow as much. I don't probably like make 10 videos per week, but it's okay. It's just slow. It's just slow growth.
yeah. Yost is joking that I need my golf time. That's 100% true. Yeah. Also Casey mentioned my Vandy hat. I don't know if other people are Vanderbilt fans or just like appreciate the hat, but that's where I went to college at Vanderbilt in Nashville. If you're not familiar with it.
Were you based in
Probably not.
Chicago?
I'm in Memphis, which is 3 hours away from Nashville.
Okay, I'm pretty bad with
both
the
in
map of the
Tennessee.
United States.
Yeah, it's
yeah, that doesn't really help Europeans a lot.
Yeah, the Southeast, just like we wouldn't know as much about European geography.
Gobina asking how many people use Instagram for Dev Talk. Quite a lot. I can promise you, quite a lot. I've been into Instagram for, I don't know, last year or the year before. Dev Instagram is quite interesting. The vibes at that time are very positive. But after a year, it to me became kind of boring because 90% of people are basically posting a shot of their desk every day, which looks super clean. And if I'd show you my desk, my desk looks like, I don't know, there are messy stuff everywhere around here. This is how my desk looks.
Mine's a mix.
And
I have a book on my desk.
You're learning a French, right?
Yeah.
For a specific purpose or just for learning?
Just fun. Cool. I know very basic phrases in German too.
Ooh.
Yeah. Not a whole lot, but some. Also, Michael, who is bald, bearded builder, always incredible to say that, said earlier that he was watching for like an hour and didn't realize that we weren't live until we got kicked out, which is funny. He also joked that Alabama appreciates Vanderbilt. So the SEC is the Southeastern Conference, really big for college football, American football. And Vanderbilt is known as being like the very smart school in the SEC. So
I found it amazing how many people are actually watching college football. Like in Europe, we're now getting used to NFL stuff, and I'm sorry, I'm for the Packers, but it's so interesting. Like college football, if I would think like the soccer team here in my hometown, like there are like probably 1,000 people going there, and then you have like stadiums completely packed. And I think actually there's is there more engagement in college football than in the NFL? Is like the fans
I'm not
more raving for that?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you track that. I wouldn't be surprised. There's also several of the college stadiums are bigger than the NFL stadiums. So I mean, like the University of Tennessee Knoxville is their stadium's 105,000 or something. It's huge. Some more comments on here. Casey grew up next door to Nashville and Clarksville. That's awesome. Yeah, very cool. I've still got lots of good friends in Nashville.
Brandon also asked something. How do you balance with the tech you use versus tech to make videos with? Like preferring Angular but creating content with React Next.Vue because it's less neat. Yeah, that's a very interesting idea. How do we balance that? Well, I think, do you have a big mix of technologies, or you just in general go for React, right?
No, I've got a good mix. Svelte is the big thing for me. So Svelte Kit. I just did something with Remix, which is React. I've done a lot of Next.js. So there's tons. I do a lot, which is a good thing and a bad thing because I just enjoy spending time exploring tools and frameworks and stuff. The downside is like I'm not known as the blah blah
Mm.
blah person, which again goes back to this goal of creating the course on a topic, and for 6 months, I want to be the blah 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 guy. So I think that's an opportunity for me, and I think there's definitely times where I'm chasing visibility with a topic, like something that's hot. And I don't think that's a bad thing because it's still stuff I'm excited about. It just like gets prioritized because it's a hotter topic, which I've thought about doing. Should you use Tailwind CSS video? Because that somehow got to be a
Yeah.
big deal. But anyway, so I probably explore more. I definitely explore more with my videos than I do for actually writing much code on personal projects, if that makes sense.
I found this also to be very challenging. I was just thinking about exactly this today because I really like Ionic and I like other technology. So if you go to my channel, you're gonna find about Ionic React, Ionic Angular. Then you're gonna find something about Flutter. Then you're gonna find something about general web development, and then you go to a different channel which is just focused on Flutter, just React Native. It's very hard to compete with these channels because if you go to one of those channels, you immediately know what you opt into. Like, I want to learn Flutter. Okay, I opt into this Flutter channel. Well, I go to James Q Quick channel. I mean, okay, weekly web development tutorials, it's kind of
Mhm.
clear focus, but then you have to be interested in
Yeah.
like the broad kind of stuff. Like,
Yep.
I think you do a good job with your playlist, like build a quiz app, then you get JavaScript, then you get Visual Studio. Those playlists are actually quite like super focused on the topic. But then, of course, well, you got the popular videos and the latest videos, and that's then just going to be a mix of stuff.
Mhm.
It's really hard to balance that. I completely agree. I do have so many interests, and I would like to create tutorials about everything. But then my channel would be a whole mess of just random topics and being too specific. Like I can't have a tutorial on building a tab bar interface with Flutter, and in the next video I do something very specific about capacitor, and then I talk about building an API with SvelteKit. Like
Mhm.
it's I love that stuff and I found it interesting. Apparently that's not really vibing well with YouTube and channel subscribers. So but I kind of try to follow this until the launch of Galaxies, because Galaxies is also like this, what I said,
Mhm.
cutting edge, bleeding edge, general web dev stuff, and I hope to get people excited about that. But your 6-month idea is definitely also a very good idea.
Mhm.
Like if you're gonna do a course, just be that guy for six
For
months
6
and
months, yeah.
do all the great content about it, whatever it is, if it is Svelte or
Yep.
Solid or something, and hope that there's not a major version before you release the course.
Which was a big thing when we were working on everything. So that was a big part of the complications that we had and trying to coordinate stuff together, which is why not in a bad way, but I backed away from that project. But the 6 month thing I think is like really valuable for people, even in like not working for themselves, like working for a company as well. As I mentioned in the chat, like you spend 6 months going deep on a topic, you build the knowledge and you build community around that thing for 6 months. You don't lose that by going to a new topic in 6 months. Like you're less engaged and you lose a little bit, but like you still know more about that thing than you ever would have before by not dedicating time to it. And then you get to go and do another 6 month chunk where you get deeper in something else. So I'm actually, the more I talk about that and mention it, I think that like should be a bigger focus of mine. I just need to get through a first 6 month span with a course,
Is it
and
related to the stuff you're already doing on your channel, or is it like
the
James
course
is building
ideas
a
that I
Swift app?
have, the
Like that
course
would be
ideas,
kind
is
of
that what you mean?
yeah.
Yeah, it won't be a surprise, the
Okay,
whichever topic I decide on. So it
because
like
I got quite some backlash when I started doing new stuff, because I did 6 years Ionic Angular,
mhm,
and then I suddenly started doing React, and I started doing
mhm.
Flutter, and people like, you don't like Ionic anymore? What are you doing? Is Ionic bad? Should we stop using it?
Yeah,
I get the
people
questions like all the time right now.
are very
Uh,
overreactive.
it's yeah. So I was just imagining if you would go for a completely new topic, that might be a problem.
Yeah, no, not a new, it won't be a shock for people. Richard asked if I'd ever been paid to make a course for Egghead, Front End Masters, etc. I've done, I did a course for Level Up Tutorials actually a few years ago with Scott. And that was cool. I think I'm at a point in my career where it's definitely a priority of mine to invest in myself and my marketing skills and my structure for courses. So I don't think I will, in the foreseeable future, I won't do that again. But that was an amazing opportunity for me at the time. I've also done a guest video, several for Travesty Media. I've done a guest video for Free Code Camp, and those were free, but the exposure that I got from those were huge. And people oftentimes have like this really simple rule of never do anything for free. That's fine, but I think there are plenty of opportunities for things I would do for free for the right exposure.
How did you get
Um,
in touch with Brett Terasi or Free Code Camp?
I don't remember. I don't remember either, to be honest. Free Code Camp is pretty open, so you can apply to do guest content. I forget exactly where, so you may have to search. I can't remember if they reached out to me. I think Bo might have reached out to me for that. So maybe that's how that happened. And I can't remember honestly if Brad posted in the Discord that we're in that he was looking for guest content. And I was like, hey, I'd like to do one. That's probably what happened. And then have coordinated with him to do a couple since then. So Brian's asking where I host courses and digital content. Some people have backed away from this recently, but I use Podia for my content as well as my newsletter, because I would have to pay. As you grow a newsletter, it gets very expensive. And so for $80 a month, I get unlimited email subscribers with Podia, in addition to all the other things I can do with free and paid content and drip campaigns and that sort of stuff. It's not the most detailed, and there are some things that really annoy me that are small. But for $80 a month to have that infrastructure in place and not have to pay for an outside email provider is pretty sweet.
Yeah, email list is super expensive. I'm at ConvertKit, and 20K subs is quite expensive, but I do have a nice Black Friday deal.
Yeah.
By the way,
how much is that, by the way?
I don't know. I think at least 2K per year, probably
2K
more.
per year. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. By the way, I'm running the easiest solution also for my membership site. I'm running a WordPress site with a membership plugin. So,
nice. That's perfect.
Developers have flamed me for that.
Yeah.
I've also said that it's not super great, but at the same time, like, this works. And when I started that platform, I wanted to give courses to people, and I want to have subscriptions and that stuff. And WordPress is great for that. It just works. I'm just now building this up because I want more flexibility, but I still run the Ionic Academy on WordPress, and it just works. It continues to work.
And that's like really the priority. Brian, who's in the chat, is a big WordPress fan, still doing WordPress. Josh Medeski asked about my new website design. When is it coming out? I'm hoping to launch like MVP next week. So there's a couple of pages I have to create from scratch that I actually could not create them and just hide the links for now. There's a few extra things I need to do to get MVP ready, a few different pages, but it should be next week.
You do have blog posts. I never knew. Do you do like written versions of your videos as well all the time?
Not all the time. Ideally, I would, but I haven't. And so part of me going through a redesign on my site is prioritizing what I want people to see, and then being able to get people to other things from a blog post if they make it to the site.
Honestly, I never knew that you do this. I've watched quite a few of your videos. I never knew that you actually have the code as well here. Probably, maybe you should say right in the beginning of the video, hey, if you want to read it, check out the link below the video or something.
Yeah, it's only
because it's great. It's great. It's the code.
It's only for a couple of them, and I wish I've decided it hasn't been a priority for me to do that because it takes enough time to not so far. So
yeah, I feel like it's in the end, writing my tutorials is usually like just 45 minutes of stuff, like recording and coming up with the idea, and all of that takes more time. And then I think like, well, I already got this. Now I can also put up the code and talk a bit about it because it's just like 45 minutes writing it. I don't know if it has a big impact, but who knows what's good. Probably maybe just doing YouTube and having like a nice sign up is enough in the future. We don't even need a written version. I don't know what people prefer. They kind of want to see the code, but you could also have this on GitHub anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think the benefit of it for me is SEO value on my personal site, and then converting people who read blog posts to something, which something is most likely a newsletter. And so that's something that I need to prioritize, is just getting that in front of people.
Yeah. What worked for me was always having like what they call a content upgrade. So this could be a sheet for some kind of tutorial. For me, 90% of the time, this was get access to all the code. So I've been not putting my code examples on GitHub in the past. I've been zipping them up and adding them. If you subscribe to my newsletter, you get the code. So that's how I built up my newsletter. But that's also why a lot of those people are just interested in a freebie. They just sign up to get like the free whatever template, and then they don't want to hear from you again. So,
Yep.
And it's about the quality of subscribers as well.
Yep. Absolutely. This has been super good. We originally scheduled 30 minutes, and I even told you this is not your fault. This is like me enjoying the conversation. But I told you beforehand, I was like, yeah, we'll keep it to 30 minutes. And then I think a big part of it is like I'm really enjoying the conversation, but most importantly, the comments and questions and stuff in the chat. Like that makes me so much more excited to be live for stuff, is when people are getting value out of the stuff we talked about or talk about, and have questions and get to get answers live. So thank you everyone for being here. I like really appreciate it. That's makes streaming much more fun when you have people that are engaged and all that kind of stuff. So Brian's got one last question for you, Simon, if you want to answer that one.
Do you uncharge for the zipped code? Uncharge? What means uncharge?
Upcharge. Oh, I think it's a typo. Upcharge. So like if they like pay more for the code. So
No.
upcharge is like if you go to McDonald's and you say, I want a Big Mac meal or whatever, they say, do you want to get a large, so you can get a bigger drink and a bigger fry for 50 cents or whatever? That would be an upcharge. That makes sense.
No. I'm just I just exchanged the code for the email. That's all.
Yep.
I of course I have an email sequence then in place, which after like 10 days or so pitches the academy and stuff like that, all the best practices in place. But at that point, it's just an exchange email for code. So I'm not charging for that. This will actually be somewhat different once I launch Galaxies. So I'm now going for GitHub repositories attached to my tutorials. And you can access the code once you become a free member at Galaxies and connect your GitHub account. So I have some logic set up with webhooks that then adds you to a team in GitHub. And then you get access to the repository. So you basically need to become a free member to get the code in that case. So let's see how that works out.
I love all the automation and stuff that after you have it set up, like that sort of stuff is really interesting to me. I kind of get really nerdy about automated stuff.
Yeah, I'm currently still I'm terrified by all the things we set up, like cloud triggers in Superbase and reacting to webhooks and transferring all of that from a development environment to the final production environment, and making sure that really every API key and call is aligned. So all the serverless stuff is cool, but it's also terrifying me. And I just hope that nothing goes wrong in the future, because then it's going to be terrible to debug.
That's the downside. Amy and I have talked about this a lot. She really wants to build a course platform. I would be interested in it, but I don't want to support it. And it takes a lot to get to, like, think about how many developers have worked on something like Podia, and how many bugs and things they fix. So
yeah, it kind of didn't work for me. I think because you couldn't have like multiple courses or just a limit. And I just like level up tutorials. I probably want to have like 20, 50, 60 courses at some point. I'm going to release a new course every month. And maybe I should like license my SvelteKit code. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty epic.
Yeah, I bet. I think that would be awesome. She had a similar idea, and I think would probably have used SvelteKit to do it. But she mentioned the idea of like packaging that up as, here, go and run your own platform type thing.
I don't know how many people actually need that. Like, there are not 100 developer creators. I think someone is also building up a platform for developers. Is it Ryan something? Ryan
Chenke is doing CourseLift. Yeah, he's really good. There's several others that have done that too. There's there's a lot of options, which makes that a tough space to get into also. Josh asked about ChatGPT. I've tried to use it and it's not available the last couple of days when I've tried to use it, but I am planning on doing a video on it in the next month or so if I can get access to it. So
You don't have? Like whenever I use it in German time, it's okay.
if
Only like
you,
when the US awakes.
yeah, if you go right now, can you get into it?
Let me see. Oh, I don't know where the bridges are in that picture. Come on. I hate captcha.
Yeah, it always says it's at
Capacity.
uh-huh. Yeah, I don't know if other people have had different experiences. VPN. I don't know.
Yeah, we're
VPN maybe is
being
part of the problem. I don't know. I don't know if it like
exceptional high
specifically
demand.
only lets so many people from the US or what. But I'm hoping to try it out. All right. I'm gonna run and get
me too.
lunch.
Need to
I'm
put my
glad,
daughter to bed.
yeah, good. I'm glad we got to hang out for longer than scheduled. And Simon will be on the podcast. What was the date you said?
After the Super Bowl, like
after the Super Bowl,
12th February, something like
something like that.
I don't know. I don't
So-
know how far in the future. Like we record on the 13th or so. Is that going live anytime soon? Like, do you publish in the week or?
well, I meant to slow down our recording to only one a week so that we could get through our backlog, and we didn't do that. So it'll be.
So it will be March.
We'll probably continue to release 2 a week until we take out that extra option to record on Monday. So it'll be like within the month after that. So yeah.
I think you should join me when I do a live stream next time as well. So we can do, I don't know, some kind of coding. You join my channel.
Yeah, sure.
We're both such experts on the topic.
I know. Yeah, we're the best.
Talk a bit about football and stuff.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
That'll be awesome.
Cool. Thanks again, everybody, for checking out, hanging with us, asking questions, answering questions, opinions, and stuff. Really a lot of fun to do this. So I'll do a live episode of the podcast same time tomorrow. I don't think Amy will be there, but I will be live tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. Come back and hang out. And just because we mentioned this earlier, if people haven't, there's a link to my newsletter if you want to check it out.
Definitely go subscribe.
Yeah, thank you. All right. See y'all later. Simon, thanks for joining.
Bye.